So welcome everyone to today's meditation. We're going to meditate on lesson 183. I call upon God's name and on my own. So as I said before, if you've been joining in this group, I really want to say, a lot of gratitude, or send a lot of gratitude to you for taking that step and doing that blessing last week and every week actually, because you're called upon every week to see your brother as sinless. The ego thought system is constantly pushing thoughts into our mind that tell us our brother is separate, is guilty, is different, has separate interests, is nothing like me. All the thoughts talk about me, describe me, and describe my brother. Jesus says we make up an ego for our brother. So one of the ways to sort of speed up awakening, Jesus asks us we don't have to spend hours and hours in meditation or contemplation. He asks us to awaken through holy relationship, which is seeing the holiness of our brother. The reason why he does this is because as we see our brother, we see ourselves. So everything I think about my brother is what I will experience within my own mind. Every thought I have about my brother seems to be, to me, about my brother, but nothing leaves my mind. And that description of my brother is actually heard within me about myself. So every thought I think about a brother, deep down in my mind, I believe it about me. So it's like a circle. The belief of his guilt is hidden in my mind, that I'm guilty. It's then projected and thought about other. And then as I project it and believe it to be about other, it also has the ramifications of cementing the belief in guilt. So we have to trust that what's going on in these lessons is that Jesus is in charge and he knows what he's doing. And when you get to a certain part, your mind's going to see what he's doing and why he's doing it. And that's why he says, just do the lessons. There'll be a tipping point at some stage where the whole thing is revealed to your mind, why you're doing. But when you're doing it and you feel, I'm not getting anywhere, I'm having no realizations, I'm not experiencing anything, I'm just in the mud with the ego all the time and I'm failing, forget about all that, forget about it. Just keep going, keep doing the lessons. Don't worry about what the egoic mind says. Jesus is the one in charge. He knows. He's set forth this teaching and these workbook lessons in a particular way. We can't skip over a lesson. Now, there's going to be lessons that you don't like as much as others. Don't skip over them. Don't skip through the review lessons like I used to at the start. I didn't like the reviews because I was like, I want some meat, I want more words. But now, just do what he wants you to do. Do it how he wants you to do it. Read the instructions very carefully for each section of the lessons. Tell yourself you're like sitting before an awakened master who is teaching you how to awaken. Many years ago, people used to go to India and sit at the guru's feet. We don't need to do that. We open the course and we get to our lesson and we're sitting at the guru's feet. Master, what would you have me do today? Okay, this is your lesson. This is what you need to repeat. This is what you need to do. Okay, Master, I will do it to my best of my ability. I am the student. So we release this idea that we know anything. We come very humbly to his teachings. No matter how much you feel you're failing or you're not getting it, just keep doing it. Just keep going. We will awaken. He says it is for sure. It is certain, the ending. He says right at the end, the ending is certain. We can't know that moment in time that we awaken to timelessness, but we will, and we all will. So you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have doubt. You're going to feel you're a failure. If you have doubt, remember his teaching. Doubt will come and go, to come again and to go again. Notice that it comes and goes. Notice it. So when it comes again, say yes. Doubt comes and then it goes. He's the teacher. He's telling us this is what will happen. When you think you're not advancing, you think you're retreating, remember his teaching. You can't know your advances from your retreats. So tell yourself, I don't know where I am. I don't know how I'm advancing or if I'm retreating. I've got no idea. All I need to do is do the lessons and read the text. I need to, he's asking me to read the text. Whether I understand it or not, I read it, because the reading of it, you might read it during the day and feel that you didn't understand a word. You lie your head on the pillow at night and you sink in and you join with God, and then something from that reading illuminates into your mind. That's what you want. You want to try to quieten your mind, stay in that quietness so the illumination can happen. So today, I just want to encourage everyone, there's these little pitfalls along the way, it's so easy. And these little teachings that he gives us, so when we're in doubt, we can apply that teaching. When we feel we're failing, we can apply, oh, I don't know my advances from my retreats. I applied those answers to those thoughts that I had. We all have the same thoughts as we're going through the course. We all have them. Every course student I've ever spoken to has had all the same thoughts I've had. Everyone thinks they're failing. Everyone thinks they're not getting it. Everyone doubts whether they'll ever have any understanding or any knowledge. Everyone does. I did too. He understands that. But he, remember in his lessons, in the instructions for each section of the lessons, just keep reading them and feel his encouragement. He talks about, now you've come a distance. We're just going to go a little bit further. We're going to keep applying those same ideas and themes. And then towards the end, he says, we're just going to go beyond words. So today's lesson 183 is this beautiful, I call God's name. I call upon God's name and on my own. Now, just before so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to do before we do it. I'm going to read the lesson very slowly. Now, I may say something from something that comes through, or I might just read it as it is. I'm not sure. And then when I'm going to read the whole lesson, and then we're going to go back, then I'll give some instructions on doing it. So you can do this as I'm reading it, or you can wait till the end to sit back and call God's name. Now, God's name is whatever works for you. It could be God, it could be Father, it could be Creator, it could be Divine Love, it could be Holy Spirit, it could be the Beloved. Some word that means something to you, or you can use all of those. You can repeat. It doesn't matter what it is. What the intention is for us to feel like we're calling the infinite. We're calling to God. And we're calling upon our own name. It's like an abstraction of that we're calling our mind into being joined, because God has no name and neither do I, but we're doing this as a way to join with God. Join in this love, this divine love that has no opposite. So now I'm going to read the lesson. I call upon God's name and on my own. God's name is holy, but no holier than yours. To call upon his name is but to call upon your own. A father gives his son his name and thus identifies the son with him. His brothers share his name, and thus are they united in a bond to which they turn for their identity. Your Father's name reminds you who you are, even within a world that does not know, even though you have not remembered it. God's name cannot be heard without a response, nor said without an echo in the mind that calls you to remember. Say his name, and you invite the angels to surround the ground on which you stand and sing to you as they spread out their wings to keep you safe and shelter you from every worldly thought that would intrude upon your holiness. Repeat God's name, and all the world responds by laying down illusions. Every dream the world holds dear has suddenly gone by, and where it seemed to stand, we find a star, a miracle of grace. The sick arise, healed of their sickly thoughts. The blind can see, the deaf can hear. The sorrowful cast off their mourning, and the tears of pain are dried as happy laughter comes to bless the world. Repeat the name of God, and little names have lost their meaning. No temptation but becomes a nameless and unwanted thing before God's name. Repeat his name and see how easily you will forget the names of all the gods you valued. They have lost the name of God you gave them. They become anonymous and valueless to you. Although before you let the name of God replace their little names, you stood before them, worshipfully, naming them as gods. Repeat the name of God and call upon yourself, whose name is His. Repeat His name, and all the tiny, nameless things on earth slip into right perspective. Those who call upon the name of God cannot mistake the nameless for the name, nor sin for grace, nor bodies for the Holy Son of God. And should you join a brother as you sit with him in silence and repeat God's name along with him within your quiet mind, you have established there an altar which reaches to God Himself and to His Son. And my comment here is this is what we're doing today. Practice but this today. Repeat God's name slowly, again and still again. Become oblivious to every name but His. Hear nothing else. Let all your thoughts become anchored on this. No other word we use except at the beginning when we say today's idea but once, and then God's name becomes our only thought, our only word, the only thing that occupies our mind, the only wish we have, the only sound with any meaning, and the only name of everything that we desire to see, of everything that we would call our own. Thus, do we give an invitation which can never be refused. And God will come and answer it Himself. Think not He hears the little prayers of those who call on Him with names of idols cherished by the world. They cannot reach Him thus. He cannot hear requests that He be not Himself, or that His Son receive another name than His. Repeat God's name and you acknowledge Him as sole creator of reality. And you acknowledge also that His Son is part of Him, creating in His name. Sit silently and let His name become the all-encompassing idea that holds your mind completely. Let all thoughts be still except this one. And to all other thoughts, respond with this and see God's name replace the 1,000 little names you gave your thoughts, not realizing that there is one name for all there is and all that there will be. Today, you can achieve a state in which you will experience the gift of grace. You can escape all bondage of the world and give the world the same release you found. You can remember what the world forgot and offer it your own remembering. You can accept today the part you play in its salvation and your own as well. And both can be accomplished perfectly. Turn to the name of God for your release, and it is given you. No prayer but this is necessary, for it holds them all within it. Words are insignificant, and all requests are needed. When God's Son calls on his Father's name, his Father's thoughts become his own. He makes his claim to all his Father gave, is giving still and will forever give. He calls on him to let all things he thought he made be nameless now, and in their place the holy name of God becomes his judgment of their worthlessness. All little things are silent. Little sounds are soundless now. The little things of earth have disappeared. The universe consists of nothing but the Son of God, who calls upon his Father, and his Father's voice gives answer to his Father's holy name. In this eternal, still relationship, in which communication far transcends all words, and yet exceeds in depth and height whatever words could possibly convey, is peace eternal. In our Father's name, we would experience this peace today, and in his name it shall be given. So the instructions I'll go back through. Now we're going to do the meditation together. I'm going to put the timer on for 20 minutes after I finish them. So I'll read again the instructions for the meditation. Repeat God's name slowly, again and still again. Become oblivious to every name but his. Hear nothing else. Let all your thoughts become anchored on his name. I will say the lesson. I call upon God's name and on my own. God's name becomes our only thought, our only word, the only thing that occupies our mind, the only wish we have, the only sound with any meaning, and the only name of everything that we desire. Okay, it's 20 minutes. Just really quietly bring yourself out of the meditation. You can probably feel it's hard to come back. It's you have such inner peace. And so the main instructions, if you want to do that meditation again, is to just repeat God's name slowly. And if any thoughts arise in your mind, let them go and come back to the name of God. That's sort of the summary of those instructions. And it's just about repeating the name slowly. Now, I was just wondering if anyone would like to share anything about that experience. Normally, we will just close the group and continue that feeling of deep silence. But I felt this guidance, just asking if you would like to share anything. Yes, Sarah.
This is a bit hard to do because it's just so relaxed, but found myself almost falling asleep a few times, and then I'd kind of remember what I'm doing, come back to God, and just tried to stay focused on the name and on what I was doing. And thought, the thoughts of this is taking a long time, and is this doing anything? And I just kept coming back to now, to God. And then I felt it's like not an explosion of light, but like a sonic boom of light, and shackles kind of breaking off. And then just a peace, just a quiet, just a soft, very relaxed. Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah. That was beautiful. Has anyone got anything else they'd like to share?
Hello, Kate.
Yes.
Hi, Kate. It's Mandarava. I wanted to say I realized that, well, I didn't follow the instructions, and I was repeating the entire title of the lesson. I call upon God's name in my own. And I was, I had to figure out, what am I going to call God? But I was settled on Father, my Father. And then I would get drawn into a fantasy, I would get drawn into a daydream. And then I would get lost, and then I would realize, oh, this fantasy is an idol I made as a substitute for God. It's it feels safer, because at this point I'm very afraid of God. I'm a new student, and I'm very afraid of God, and I'm aware of that fear, and I'm aware of feeling threatened by the love of God. So I just kept, but the meditation was helpful. And then I just realized how much I do that. It's consistently, I do that. And then I was watching your videos earlier, and you were talking about that lesson. And it was, so that was cool. Thank you very much for that.
Is there anyone else who would like to share? Thank you, Mandara.
I will, Kate.
Hi, Annie Louise.
Yeah, I mean, I do write to Jesus every day, and I have done so for, I don't know, 26 years or so, but now I say I'm an atheist now, yeah, through my years in the course. And well, when you said the word beloved, the beloved, something just went in me, and I knew that I was the beloved as well. And that every person that I thought of was the beloved as well. I just want to thank you and thank myself for being here to hear those words, the beloved. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie Louise. George.
Hi, Kate. That was very interesting because my mind was going all over the map. I can't even describe it. But then at the very, very end, I said, God, please help me. I don't even know where to begin with this. And then this thought came in my mind. I saw how I've got this idea of what God is in my mind. And I felt like Jesus told me, why don't you try forgiving? So what I did was I asked Jesus to show me his interpretation of what God is. And I said, I let mine go. And I want to see through your eyes, Holy Spirit, of what God is, because I just have no idea. And then I opened my eyes, and then you opened your eyes, and that was the end of it. And so I feel like I got to the point I needed to get to. And thank you very, very much. This has been fascinating.
Yeah, so thank you, George. That you start to see how it doesn't really matter. We don't have to do everything correctly. We just have to step in and give it a go, move into something, and then something can come out of it in all different ways. So we don't have to set the agenda. We just have to start moving into something that feels uncomfortable, that we don't feel we know how to do it. And he says, just start it. And then it's like, he says the wings of the angels are around you. It's the help's coming in for us. It would be something I said or something where Jesus comes in, or the Holy Spirit. I remember when I was doing the lessons, this was many years ago, and I was just driving my car one day, and I just heard these words, just call God's name. And I was just driving along, just calling out. For me, it was Father. And I just started calling out Father really loudly in the car, because in the car you can really sing loudly or speak loudly. And I just started like really calling out Father, Father, and just really calling. And I just remember feeling this something joining. It's very hard to put into words, right? Because we really don't have the words to describe some sort of experience that comes in that's not of this world. So it's just amazing how that was the first time I'd ever done it, and I actually didn't realise that it was in the course, and I've obviously done it as a lesson. This was many years into doing those lessons, and then when I found this lesson, I thought, oh, this is the lesson. But obviously, whatever I've done, I've forgotten about, but it's been remembered. So after that, I did it mainly when I went to bed. You know how the fear can sometimes arise as you go to sleep? You can use this. You can just lie down and just repeat this word. Let it be beloved, my darling, my heart, this infinite love. Remember that the way to God is to have the blocks removed, because what Jesus says is that we already have this experience of God, of being joined with this infinite love. So the whole course is about removing the blocks, which is like a veil of blocks in our mind. So as you're doing it, and the little thoughts are coming up, as you let them go, they're the blocks that are stopping you. So just more and more, if you want to do this meditation again on your own, you can just do it for 5 minutes, or falling asleep, or anytime you feel fear. It's a really beautiful application of what he calls forgiveness. So forgiveness is just shifting from thinking with the ego into something else that's going to lead you to peace. So I used this lesson after that, after I had some little holy instant in the car. I thought, right, I'm going to start using this more, because I could feel something occurred. So I didn't always get to that, but sometimes I did. And the more and more I did it, and then eventually there was just this really, as I progressed on with the mind training, I just started to feel myself very easily coming into this love. So that's why we have to practice these things, because we've practiced something else so dedicated to the ego thought system. It feels unusual to come to something sort of very abstract and not that we find difficult at times. But the more we do it, they're going to get familiar with it. It's going to be something that becomes more familiar. So these habits become more familiar, and they're easier to slip into when we need them. So these are the things that the Holy Spirit can remind you. If you're upset or in fear, you can say, Holy Spirit, help me. And you might remember, oh yes, lesson 183, I'll just sit quietly now, even for a minute, and repeat God's name and let all other thoughts be still. So it's this really wonderful practice for us that's meant to anchor us. And it's like a ladder. We sort of rise up with the words, with the dedication, because it's our heart calling to our Father. It's calling to that love. It's calling. It's like we're coming to calling us home. So thank you, everyone. Today's been a bit shorter, joining today. But so for anyone or for everyone, try to spend the rest of the day quiet. And let this, like it's already taken on an energy of its own as you've done the meditation. So if you have the time, just sit quietly after we turn the Zoom off, and maybe give a little bit more time for this, or you might need to go and eat something, or just, and then dedicate another half an hour to just sitting quietly. Or if you're due to go to bed soon, just go to bed and maybe even read this lesson again. Read it really slowly if you have time, or otherwise just get into bed and just keep repeating that name. So thank you everyone for joining today. And if you'd like to unmute your mics, just say a quiet blessing. Let's just remain in that silence, just a very quiet blessing to each other.
I love you all.
Bless you,
Thank you
beloved
so
of
much.
God.
Thank you,
Bless
everybody.
you, everybody.
Kate.
Thank you so much.
God bless you all.
God
I love
bless you. Thanks to everybody.
Bye.
Good
God
night.
bless you, beloved of God.
Thank you very much.
Love you.
Love you. I bless
Thank you, everyone.
you.
Blessings.
And honor you.
So beloved. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
God
Have a
bless you,
beautiful
beloved
day,
of God.
brothers. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate.
God bless you.
Night, everyone.